11th of January, the second Thursday of the month, which can only mean one thing. It's me, Tom, with Healthy Minds, Better Lives, with Hayley Wheeler and Tammy Foley. Good evening.
Evening, everyone.
Hello.
Hello. It simultaneously feels like only yesterday and about 3 years ago since we last talked.
It really does, doesn't it? Christmas really throws everything.
It's only 2 weeks as well.
I know.
Like in reality. And yet it feels like, both simultaneously a couple of days and a couple of years ago that we were doing the quiz at the end of the show there, which was wonderfully put together. So thank you very much, Hayley, for that one. But here we are. We're a whole year away from that last show. We're in January 2024. And we were talking about the pressures of Christmas. And we mentioned there's a few things that we might mention in January. And we're going to get into some more detail throughout the rest of the show. We're going to be talking about New Year, New You, hashtag, and all of that. And we're also going to be looking at the goal setting and creating habits for this year. We're also going to be looking at how we can master our mindset and give us the tools and the resources to help us. Well, is it resolutions or goals? Here's something that we're gonna discuss throughout the next 2 hours here as well. And Tammy caught up with Dr. Megan, talking about gut health. So you're going to hear about that before the end of the show. Really interesting, Tammy, to catch up with Dr. Megan. A wealth of knowledge about just how important our bellies are.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And just to bring it to the forefront of everyone's mind. And I do like the campaign, it's about having that gut feeling about something. And I do like that play on words. But it's just about how important it is to look after our gut and how it can have a positive impact on other areas of our health and well-being too. So very insightful.
It is very insightful. So stick around for that one. Tune in live if you're not already joining us on the Facebook. Hello, I'm giving you a wave. You can tune in on your smart speaker, on your PWR app and online. And if you want to listen back to this show, or you might miss the very end of it, you can listen back tomorrow on purewestradio.com/catch up. For now, though, blwyddyn newydd dda. Happy New Year to you both. In a nutshell, how was the festive period for you, Hayley? We'll start with you.
It was absolutely lovely. I completely switched off, which is really unusual for me. And I mean to the point where I found it really hard to motivate myself to get back to work on Monday. I planned to do a load of stuff, but I don't know, I must have needed it. Just time out to just do nothing.
Yeah.
And someone asked me, what does nothing look like? We've done quite a lot considering I've done nothing. But doing nothing for me is not having the pressure of thinking about work all the time and all that kind of stuff. So just switching my brain off, I suppose, more than physically.
Yeah, I think we're quite similar in that respect, because I'll still like potter and do little bits, but it's not that pressure that's attached to it. Tammy, how was yours?
It's similar in terms of just that stopping and just being present in the moment and just having that just wonderful family time and just recharging batteries. So, going into 2024 really refreshed and ready to continue with hopefully another incredible year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been incredible actually how long we've been doing this show together. We get to have these monthly check-ins with each other and see how things are going. Looking forward to another 12 months of that and seeing how things are going and sharing our insights, our learning, our experiences. I think one thing that's important to add as well is that, yes, we give our own experiences, but it's coming from practice as well and what you're hearing from other people. So it's not just us saying, well, I did this. It's someone came to me with this information and I'm sharing this with you, which is great. And you've talking about how refreshed you're feeling. You didn't have the pressure. And then 11:59 strikes on December 31st. And all of a sudden you're thinking, oh, it's a new year tomorrow. In a minute. What am I going to do with my life? What am I going to do with my year has this year been a success? Has this year been terrible? What am I going to do next year? And all of a sudden, what should be a bit of a celebration, and if you're lucky, a nice little peck on the cheek at midnight, becomes a really pressure-filled environment. You're like, what does next year hold for me? Tammy, if people are having that stock take, I imagine it can go one of two ways. If you're thinking, yes, this is my year, or, oh, it's another year of this. How can, we're nearly 2 weeks in now. what can people do if they're feeling that pressure?
Well, do you know, I just want to bring it back really quickly and just say there are so many memes and blogs out there saying that January is that great time for goal setting, and that there's almost something really magical about it. And it's sort of true, but also it's not. And for people who are just, feeling that pressure, goals don't have to happen or be set on January the 1st in order for them to stick. Yes, it can be easy to get the ball rolling, or to use it as a measurement, but we can start that at any time of the year. And most of the time, when it comes to reaching goals, the true work behind it is psychological. And we're always battling against those deeply ingrained habits. So starting in January means that we can take advantage of a few mental tricks, if you will, by trying to achieve those goals, and to make them a bit easier. But that said and done, we can start afresh in February. We can start afresh today on our birthday. It doesn't have to be that 1st of January.
It doesn't. Hayley, did you feel the pressure? I suppose you were still on your wind down, on your that no pressure with work. But when that clock struck, was there still a part of you that was like, oh, I need to do something?
No, do you know what? Last year, I don't know if you remember, I started setting goals with my kids last year. So the first one we did was on New Year's Eve, not 2022, I'm talking. So New Year's Eve 2022, we started doing goals, and the last Sunday of every month, we have revisited the goals from the month before and set the next set of goals for next month. And the kids have done it. They've got a book that they've written in, and it has proven my daughter's hit all her goals. My youngest has hit some of his, and this year now, we started again New Year's Eve this year. He's just hit his healthy eating goals, which have been set since last year. So it's not a pressure, it's a decision. But something I've decided this week is to read 104 books this year.
Whoa.
So, yeah. That's my goal. Nothing to do with New Year's Eve. Just I set that yesterday.
Just because
I'm gonna have to ask Hayley, why 104?
2 a week.
2 a week.
All right. I'll see. I was always bad at maths.
2 a week. She really loved 104 Dalmatians. Wow. And I suppose what's interesting there is that, and we're going to go into goals and these resolutions and this pressure. Like, for some people, Hayley, what you've just described there might be the scariest thing that they've heard of. What? You want me to actually write something down and be accountable to a book? And then other people will be like, oh, I need to be accountable. I'm going to do that and enjoy the process. And then for others, they just want it to be this, I'm going to have a resolution. I'm going to be mindful of something going forward. Tammy, it's okay to be in either camp or in somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, and I come back to that, that January, you feel like you have to have that fresh start. A line, drawing that line in the sand, a new chapter in a book, no pun intended there at all, Hayley. But, January is that natural turning in the calendar, but we can do it at any time of the year. We're social creatures. We know that we're more likely to perhaps hit our goals if we know other people are doing it as well. So in January, we know that so many people perhaps are starting new goals, so that we don't feel alone. Even though we're not with them, there is that kind of like herd mentality. And we've spoken about that on so many different segments of our shows. Everyone's in it together. But again, it's about not putting pressure on yourself and knowing that if you don't do it today, you can do it tomorrow. And again, like Hayley said, it's about making decisions and not feeling like you're forced. Because if we feel that we're forced into something, we're not going to go through with it.
Yeah, you're gonna feel cajoled, and then the pressure, and then resistance builds. Then I know that we've got Eddie Mark Shardlow with us and Anna King. I wonder if they've set themselves up and thinking, "Oh, new year, new me." I wonder what your goals or plans or resolutions are. So feel free to put them in the comments on the Facebook, or if you're listening, you can use the PWR app to let us know your thoughts on what we're talking about. We would love to hear from you. You mentioned there, Tammy, about that herd mentality. And it's also at this time of year that we get like sort of Veganuary, where people cut out, go vegan. But you've also got the likes of the pressure of, I'm going to do 10,000 steps. I'm going to run every day. I'm going to do a 5K. Admittedly, some of these are for charity. So our good friends at Megan Starr Foundation, they do Step Into January together. Get the Boys a Lift are doing a 5K challenge as well. And it depends on how you're feeling. You should be doing that. And I suppose more importantly is if you feel that you can't do that you don't beat yourself up about it. Hayley, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think what I just realised as Tammy was talking there now is that we tend to, I know goals are about stretching ourselves, but we tend to put pressure on ourselves to do something that we dislike. I hate in the gym, so I'm going to go to the gym, or I don't want to give up smoking, but I'm going to give up smoking. And why I realised that is because the books that I want to read are more kind of business and self-development. I've been avoiding it like the plague for years. But actually this year, I want to do it. So I think it's about doing things that, yes, they're going to push you out of your comfort zone, but it doesn't have to be horrible. And I think we very rarely do we find that balance. So it's finding the balance of, yes, okay, you hate the gym. Does it have to be the gym? Can you do something with a friend, or can you do something at home, or just to start off? So I think that sometimes makes it unachievable.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
That is a very good point. Yeah, Tammy, you go.
Oh no, I was just gonna jump in. It's just learning about what hasn't worked in the past. By continuing to do something that you dislike, the results are always going to be the same. So before you plan, think about how you're going to achieve, but be really specific. Identify your goals, but it's something that you have to enjoy. Not that you're forcing yourself to, not because someone else is doing it. You're doing it for you. And like you say, right here, right now is the time for you to read those books that you have been avoiding and that perhaps have, created unnecessary, I want to say, anxiety in the past for you. So yeah, for me, it's about learning what does work as opposed to what doesn't work.
Yeah. It's an odd thing, isn't it, that we go into a new year and everyone's very excited. It's a fresh turning of the page, and it's a brand new calendar. It's a blank slate. It's a new book that's ready to be written. And we tend to start it off by punishing ourselves and being like, I didn't do that last year, so therefore I'm going to crack that whip on myself and I'm going to do it now. Why? Where's that come from, Hayley? Where's this? Because it's a weird kind of perverse desire that I'm going to do it even if I despise it. And like, yes, if your doctor says you need to be walking more or whatever, then you've got an external pressure then to do it as well from a medical source, whatever, that's going to have differences on there. But that it's never a good thing, is it? A resolution, it's always something that you're going to do. Like, I'll do less of that because it's indulgent, I'll do more of that because it's good for me. But I don't know, it just feels like a punishment.
I agree. I think there's that saying, isn't it? Push yourself out of your comfort zone. And if your goals don't scare you, they're not big enough. But actually, yes, I agree with that to some extent, but it doesn't have to be like that. And I think we find this pressure, taking the herd mentality in a negative way. If you're feeling the pressure because everybody else is doing it, it's not going to be right for you at that time, maybe. And unless it's unique to you, you've really thought it through, you really want to achieve that goal, it's something that's going to make your life better, something you're going to enjoy. But we don't really look into it. We have to set these resolutions. And yet we also know, and this is a conversation I had this week, we also know that there's a day in January that everybody gives them up. So are we setting them with the idea that we're going to give them up? I'm going to do it anyway because, you know, it's expected that I'm going to give it up, because I'm really struggling with labels and people being told things and then they live up to that, rather than understanding what they want and what they like and who they are. They live up to whatever somebody else is telling them is the thing to do or the thing to be, or what they. That is I don't know. That's I'm on my high horse with that this year. So let's not take me down that road. But are we setting resolutions because we know there's an out in 2 weeks or 3 weeks' time?
That is a very good point. And talking about living up to other people's expectations, everyone intrinsically is hearing, I should do this, I should do that. Tammy, I don't like the word should.
No, I don't. I think any change that you make is because you want to. So you need to, you have to, not because of somebody else telling you, because we know if it comes from somebody else, it's not going to work. We have control over ourselves. We need to make the choices for us. So someone saying you should give up chocolate, you should exercise more, you should stop smoking. Unless that person wants to, you know, they'll perhaps try it, like Hayley said, for that kind of like 2-3 week window. But they're setting themselves up to fail, knowing that they don't want to change because they enjoy eating chocolate, for example. So again, I don't like the word should, and I don't like anybody else telling someone else that they need to change a habit or behave in a certain way. It has to come from the person.
It does. One thing that was positive, on Saturday, Gina and I were at the Pembrokeshire Sports Village in Haverfordwest. Pembrokeshire Leisure were putting on their first ever fitness extravaganza to help those and to provide a space for people that may have had fitness as part of their New Year, New Me. And what was really good there is that no one there had been told to go. They'd set their own, well, they might have been, but they'd set their goals to do it. And it's one thing signing up to something anonymously before Christmas. It's another thing actually going and turning up. And what was really refreshing was that outlook of, I want to be here. I want to give it a go. I want to do it with other people who are in a similar situation as myself. And that's where herd mentality is actually a blessing, because we're more likely to achieve things if we've got teammates and people cheering us on in a safe environment. Hayley, well, because Tammy mentioned herd before, I'm going to go to Hayley this time.
Yeah, I agree. I think, you know, when you are struggling with something, having that support network is amazing. It can actually motivate you, inspire you to see somebody who's maybe working a little bit harder than you are, and yet you thought that maybe they were a little bit behind you. It helps to keep you going, doesn't it? But it's making sure that you've got the right support network, because you don't want to be that crabs in the bucket that are pulling you back down when you can't do it. You want people who are going to go, come on, it's fine. It's okay that you've fallen off the wagon and you haven't done 12 workouts this week. Come and join us for the next one. You need a bit of that as well, don't you?
Yeah. And you really do. And it's like, whether it's fitness, whether it, personally speaking, choir, if people want to try a new skill and things like that, you just give it a go when you're ready. And which links in really well with what Helen Marie's saying now over on Facebook. And she raises a very valid point that we have not mentioned, is that, yes, we might have had 2 weeks of a different schedule over Christmas and New Year, but ultimately we've all gone back to the same pattern that we did before, unless we've changed jobs or we've made a very deliberate thing of, I'm not doing that anymore. But Helen's saying, I tried to not start my New Year goal at the start of January because it's not realistic. I'd rather get back into my usual routine and see how I can fit my goal into my routine. Because let's be honest, nothing changed overnight.
Nope.
My calendar still shows exactly the same things I was doing the week before Christmas.
Yeah.
So if I am making these big goals, in fact, we're going to move into goal setting and planning and habits very shortly. But I remember when second year or first year of COVID, and people were like, I can't wait for next year because everything's going to go back to normal. And midnight struck and we were still in lockdown. And it's that same thing. Our lives still happen. And if we're trying to make these big wholesale changes, is it going to happen? And then what are we going to do if it doesn't happen? Someone had a thought.
Yeah, well, no, I just, again, I come back to, there is that kind of magical, mythical, just that, the new calendar, that, the rebirth, going into January. And again, we can all get swept away with it because it's ingrained in us, from a young age, we're taught, that 1st of January, that, that fresh time, people feel fresher. But we don't. We don't, especially if we've just kind of been overindulging for the last, week. So again, we can reflect on it, again, but if we're going to make those lifestyle changes, let's do it now when we're ready, when we're motivated, as opposed to, again, waiting 4 months, 11 months, a week. Let's start now. And again, I come back to, we spoke about that herd mentality. But even if, we're not waiting until the 1st of January, we decide that we want to lose weight today, tomorrow, we join a group, we join those like-minded people. And I also think it's the act of going somewhere, that commitment of change, as opposed to I'm just going to be on my own. So there's so many factors, but I do think we need to kind of get away from that kind of magical, amazing number, which is the 1st of January.
Yes, we do. We are going to take a moment and we're going to get into the nitty gritty now. So we've put January to rest. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about what we are going to do, this goal setting. We're going to get Hayley, if you don't mind, because I know that you've gone through your planning with your family before on the show. We're going to get little tidbits of information from you on to what you've done and how you've done it, how you've recorded it. I'll also look at, I actually haven't given my thoughts on this year. I'm flashing back to last year now. I remember I don't do goals and resolutions in January because, like what Helen Marie said, it's unrealistic. I like picking out words and themes. So this year for me, I can't remember what it was last year, but this year, it's opportunity and not being afraid of opportunity. So when I see something, I'm going to be opportunistic towards it and think, I'm going to say yes first and see what experiences and see in what direction that pulls me through, because I've got end goals in sight, which we're going to talk to in more detail now. So that I like to theme my year as a bit different to I'm going to cut down on this or whatever. So we're going to take a moment. I want you listening at home to give us, first of all, what goals you're working towards and how you're going to achieve them. And, if you have any questions on goal setting or resolutions, or maybe how you're feeling about the upcoming Blue Monday, the so-called day where, it's the most miserable day in January is coming up. There's the day where everyone forgets their resolutions. And I think there was another day in January which will come to me during the time that we're going to have a bit of Jack Harlow and Dua Lipa. It's not long gone 9:30 here. You're listening to Healthy Minds, Better Lives, goal setting and habits coming up next.